Hey everyone! So, you're about to start your Cambridge IGCSE Economics journey? That's awesome. You're in exactly the right place. In this little explainer, we're going to break down the entire 0455 syllabus and turn it into a super clear roadmap for your studies. So let's just dive right in. Everything, and I mean everything in economics, kicks off with this one simple question. It sounds kind of basic, right? But the answer is the key that unlocks the whole subject. It's a question that affects you, your family, huge companies, and even entire countries every single day.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the most fundamental idea in all of economics. Then we'll see how markets actually work. After that, we'll meet the key players in the game. From there, we'll zoom out to see the government's role. And finally, we'll look at the biggest picture of all, the global economy.
First up, the absolute foundation. Seriously, everything you're going to learn in economics is built right on top of the concepts we're about to cover in this first section. This is the bedrock of your entire understanding.
And here it is, the big one, the basic economic problem. To put it simply, we all want endless things. You know, the latest phone, cooler clothes, better public services. But the stuff we need to make them happen, things like time, money, and raw materials, well, that stuff is limited. This gap between our unlimited wants and our limited resources is what economists call scarcity.
So what exactly are these limited resources? Well, economists have a handy way of grouping them into what they call the 4 factors of production. Land is basically all the natural stuff from the planet. Labor is the human effort, people working. Capital means the man-made tools and machines. And enterprise, that's the special skill of the entrepreneur who mixes the other 3 together to create something new.
This scarcity brings us to a really crucial idea, opportunity cost. Because we can't have everything, every single choice we make means we have to give something else up. The real cost of studying for your exam isn't just the hours you put in, it's the fun you missed out on with your friends. That next best thing you sacrifice, that is the opportunity cost.
Okay, so if we can't all have everything, how do societies figure out who gets what? That leads us straight into our second section, where we get to explore the powerful mechanism that helps us allocate all these scarce resources, the market.
A market is basically a meeting of 2 sides. You've got demand, which is what we consumers want to buy, and you've got supply, which is what producers want to sell. The interaction, this kind of push and pull between these 2 forces, is the engine that drives the whole market economy.
So how do these 2 sides communicate? Well, they do it through price. A rising price is like a giant flashing sign to producers saying, hey, people want more of this. For us consumers, a high price might be a signal to maybe buy a little less. This price mechanism is like an invisible hand that answers those 3 basic economic questions: what, how, and for whom to produce.
But that leads to a fascinating question. Are markets always perfect? In the syllabus, you'll get to explore what happens when they fail, when they don't allocate resources in the best way possible. This is a concept called market failure. Just think about pollution from a factory. The market price of whatever they're making doesn't really include the cost to our environment, right? This sets the stage for why we sometimes need other players to step in. And that brings us perfectly to section 3. Now, we're going to zoom in from the big wide market and look at the individual groups whose everyday choices actually shape the economy. This is what we call microeconomics.
You're going to get to know these key players really well. You'll study how households, like your own, decide whether to spend or save. You'll look at how workers choose their careers, how firms decide what to produce, and the absolutely crucial role that banks play in making all of this happen. All their individual decisions add up to create the bigger picture.
We'll even peek inside the mind of a firm. You learn to think like an entrepreneur, breaking down their decision-making process from that first spark of an idea all the way to their ultimate goals, whether that's to make a huge profit or just to survive in a tough market. All right, it's time to pull the camera back. We're zooming out now, moving from the individual choices of people and firms to the economy of an entire country. Welcome to the world of macroeconomics. In this section, you'll explore the big goals that governments are juggling all the time. They're aiming for economic growth, which just means the country is producing more stuff over time. They want low unemployment, so people have jobs. They want stable prices, to avoid crazy inflation that makes everything super expensive. They also look for a stable balance of payments. That's all about managing money flowing in and out of the country. And often, they're trying to make the distribution of income a bit fairer for everyone. Now, to achieve all these goals, governments have a really powerful toolkit.
On one side, you have fiscal policy. That's all about how the government uses its budget, so spending and taxes, to influence the economy. On the other side, you've got monetary policy, which is usually handled by a central bank and involves things like managing interest rates and the supply of money.
And you know what? This is where your studies get really relevant. This is the stuff you hear about on the news every single day. Every time a news report mentions inflation or GDP growth or unemployment rates, you'll have the framework to understand exactly what's going on and why it's a big deal.
And for our final section, we are taking the widest view possible. We're zooming out one last time, from the national economy to the interconnected global stage.
This slide really says it all. In the 21st century, no economy is an island. A decision made in one country can literally send ripples all the way across the world. This part of the syllabus looks at how this incredible global network actually works.
You'll dive into the forces that are shaping our modern world. You'll be answering big questions like, why do countries even trade with each other? What's the deal with globalization? How are currency exchange rates set? And what is the role of these massive multinational companies in the world economy?
Ultimately, this final section just ties everything together. It's going to give you the tools to understand the huge economic trends that are defining our lives and will continue to shape our future on this planet.
And there you have it, a complete flyby of your Cambridge IGCSE Economics syllabus. You now have the map for your learning journey, from a single, simple choice all the way to the entire global economy. So the only question left is, are you ready to start exploring?
Fundoo Tutor is a personalized learning platform that helps students succeed in Cambridge, IB, and other international curriculums. With expert mentorship, structured learning support, and engaging resources,